Indy Mogul.
This week on Indie News, where and how to see The Hobbit in 48 frames per second, how 3D works, shooting a film on your iPhone, YouTube's NextUp program for filmmakers, plus a Showreel Contest for Mogulers. Hey Indy Mogulers, Griffin here. I got my new Panasonic GH3 this week, so that's what I'm shooting today's episode on. We'll see how it looks, and next week I'll do a full review to see how the GH3 stacks up. This week, the highly anticipated film The Hobbit hits theaters, starting this Wednesday with 9 countries, including France, then Thursday, 20 countries, like the UK, and Friday premieres in the US plus 13 other countries. If you want to see The Hobbit in theaters, you'll have to choose between the 5 different visual formats it's being shown in. There's 2D, Real D 3D, IMAX 3D, HFR 3D, and IMAX HFR 3D. Sounds confusing, so let me explain what's going on. The Hobbit was shot in 3D in 5K resolution at 48 frames per second. To produce 3D, each shot was captured on 2 Red Epic cameras, one representing the left eye and one for the right. But it's impossible to get the 2 lenses as close together as human eyes, so they use essentially a teleprompter, a mirror to split the 2 cameras together. Director Peter Jackson also had the film shot at double the usual frame rate. Films are generally shot and projected in theaters at 24 frames per second. People often say that 24 frames is what makes video look cinematic. But 24 frames has its flaws. It's slow enough to create stutter during moving shots. So by shooting at 48 frames per second, Jackson is hoping to create a smoother, more immersive, realistic feel. You could also argue it will feel less cinematic, because it won't look like the movies we're used to. Some moviegoers who caught early screenings complained that the 3D high frame rate film caused migraines and nausea, but many others, like James Cameron, the director of Avatar, loved it. If you want to see The Hobbit the way that Peter Jackson intended, you'll want to see it in 3D at its maximum theatrical resolution, 4K, at 48 frames per second, which they're calling HFR, high frame rate. So look for tickets to an IMAX 3D HFR showing. Unfortunately, only 58 theaters in the entire world are equipped to project IMAX HFR 3D. To find the one closest to you, there's a list in the video description. Many more theaters, around 1,200 worldwide, are able to show the film at half resolution, but still 3D and 48 frames per second. That's called HFR 3D, and a list of those theaters are also in the video description. There's no way to see the film in 48 frames per second without also seeing it in 3D. But there are 2 3D formats at the lower 24 frame rate: IMAX 3D, which is full resolution, or Real D 3D, which is half resolution. Or if you don't want 3D, you can also find the film in plain old 2D 24 frames per second like most movies. Have you ever wondered how 3D actually works? 2 cameras are set about 2.5 inches apart, the average interocular distance for humans. When a Real D 3D movie is projected at 24 frames per second, each frame is actually shown 6 times. Really 144 frames per second. That's once for the left eye, once for the right eye, left, right, next frame, left, right, left, right. And a polarizing filter on the projector lens sends the light waves for each image spinning like a corkscrew, clockwise then counterclockwise. Here's where your 3D glasses come into play. Each eye is another polarized filter blocking light that doesn't spin the right direction. So your left eye only sees half the images, your right eye sees the other half, creating the 3D illusion. When I see pictures from the 3D movie craze of the 1950s, I always imagine they're wearing these classic red-blue glasses called Anaglyph Glasses, just like that character in Back to the Future. But audiences watched Anaglyph 3D movies as far back as 1915. And in the 1950s, they used polarized glasses very similar to the 3D system we use today. The main difference is, instead of 1 projector, they used 2, different film strips for each eye that had to be perfectly in sync. Perhaps this guy was wearing anaglyphs because 3D comic books were very popular in the 1950s. Earlier this year, I produced an episode about shooting professional quality video on the iPhone, and this week Weapons of Mass Production continues the discussion, finding out if the iPhone can really produce cinematic results. YouTube announced this week they're launching another NextUp Creator Camp in the US. They're looking for talented YouTubers who like to collaborate, people like Final Cut King, who attended last year in New York City. If you're chosen as one of the top 30 applicants, YouTube will send you out to their new studio space in Los Angeles, where you'll team up with other YouTubers, make videos, and earn a bunch of money. So if you think you've got what it takes, you'll find a link to apply in the video description. It's that time of year when many filmmakers like to showcase the work they've produced over the last 12 months. So that's why I've been seeing lots of show reels or sizzle reels. These are interesting short videos, often set to music, that showcase what you're capable of as a filmmaker. I love watching show reels, so I want you to send me yours. If you've already made one for 2012, or if you do produce one, be sure to email me a YouTube link at mogulermade@gmail.com and put Reel 2012 in the subject line. If you send those to me by the end of the year, I'll pick the best ones to showcase here on Indy Mogul. You'll also find more info in the video description. On today's playlist, I have the Weapons of Mass Production episode about filming with an iPhone. I have a production blog from The Hobbit that covers shooting in 3D. There's a look at that new YouTube studio space in Los Angeles. Here I have a lengthy comparison between the Panasonic GH3 and Panasonic GH2 on my personal channel, and then I have new and notable video contests from my friend Marissa. Thanks for watching, guys.